Hello, this is Paul Ricci with Allegheny Independent Media. I'm here with candidate for State Attorney General Eugene DePasquale. Okay, he's running this year against David Sunday, and well, this looks like probably going to be a hotly contested race, just like all the other statewide races.
Yep.
So, hello. Okay, Dave. So yes, I'll give you a little bit of your background. You served as a state representative and then as a state auditor general.
Yes, that's correct. Three terms as a state legislator, three and two terms as auditor general.
Okay. So what would be your most proud accomplishment when you were auditor general?
The thing I think is the most impactful was there's probably two things. One was my investigation that found the over 3,000 untested rape kits. And so
Oh,
working with my team and law enforcement, we cleared that backlog, got that information into the FBI database so we could bring some of those creeps to justice. And also my investigation had found 58,000 unanswered phone calls at the child abuse hotline. Any single one of those calls could have been life or death for a child. So my team not only found that, but we traveled all over the state meeting with child protection workers to make sure our children were better protected. So I would say those are the two proudest accomplishments I have as Auditor General.
okay. And you plan on expanding on these accomplishments as attorney general?
Yeah, so I have a record of conducting tough investigations, taking on people that are whether they're cheating the taxpayers, whether they're doing something wrong by the people of the state, whether it's prescription drugs, and investigating pharmacy benefit managers, whether it's protecting our seniors, investigating nursing homes, improving that system, whether it's protecting our environment, auditing and investigating the Department of Environmental Protection when I didn't feel they were doing enough to protect our environment, and certainly the rape kits and child protection. Those are all relating to public safety, consumer safety, environmental safety. I have a broad, across the board record of protecting the community.
Okay. And so yes, I mean some people. I mean, I was looking at some of your opponent, David Sunday's material, like his commercials and his website. Seems like his focus is more on just, you know, prosecuting lower level
Right.
criminals.
Yeah, look, public safety is important, but there's multiple ways to get there. Look, my dad made some mistakes with drugs. He dealt too, and he ended up going to prison for that. So look, people that make those mistakes, there should be some level of punishment for it. But that's not the only way to protect the community. There's other ways, whether it's investing in education, making sure that we're making long-term investments to give kids hope so we can reduce crime that way. Whether it's investigating in drug rehabilitation programs, making sure we're getting people the treatment they need. There's a whole host of
Mhm.
things we can do to protect the environment and protect the community.
Okay. So yes, I am yeah. So I know, like I was a classmate of Sean Doherty's. I know he's been campaigning hard
Mhm.
to get the statute of limitations lifted for lawsuits
Yep.
against, priests who are
Yep.
abusers. So, like, would the attorney general have any role in that or getting laws like that passed?
Certainly, you have the ability to get on the soapbox or get on the stump, however you want to phrase it. But the short answer is I support that effort. I believe the people that committed those heinous acts against young people should pay some price for that. They should have the victims and the survivors should have their day in court, the ability to, see the person that committed those horrible acts against them get a fair trial. I think the I think the survivors have a right to see that and a right to their day of justice. And so I would push hard to have that. Obviously, the legislature and the voters won't also have their say on that, but as Attorney General, I would certainly help lead that effort.
Okay. And, like, are there, so I know, like, I'm sure there's pretty much endless possibilities for types of consumer
Oh,
fraud or,
oh, absolutely. Look, every day, I know this for a fact. Now, every day, people are calling the Attorney General's office with some type of consumer fraud. We see this with these crooks trying to scam people every single day. I'm sure you get it. I get it in our emails all the time. And so this is something that is not just a Pennsylvania problem. Excuse me, it's also a national problem. I'll work with state
Yeah.
attorneys general in other states as well. Bring these people to federal court if we have to. We've got to send a message to this that it's unacceptable.
Yeah, of course, some of it could be international too, like
That's right.
countries like India or
That's right.
Nigeria, and
That's right.
getting them extradited would be
That's
a
right.
challenge.
Yeah, we've all probably gotten an email about somebody who's stuck in some prison in Nigeria or something like that.
Hmm. Okay, so I guess so. You're based primarily in York County.
Actually, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. I knew you grew up there. I think you
Yeah,
said you
I'm back here
represented
now. Yeah,
York.
teaching at the University of Pittsburgh. Back here now, full time. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, at the law school.
Undergrad and the honors college. I
Okay.
teach a law school class at Widener University, also a graduate school class at your college. So I'm getting my teaching skills around
Yes. Well,
because I
that's
noticed you
good.
got the Steeler, you got the black and gold on.
Yes. Well, this is Allegheny Independent
That's right.
Media. We cover it. I did notice that, like Conemaugh Hospital here in
Hmm.
Johnstown, they're owned by, Duke Life Point, which is owned by a private equity firm. The
Yep.
name escapes me right now. But I had heard, on another piece I had done an interview, I was told that there may be a pending U.S. Senate investigation of Duke Life Point,
Yeah, I obviously can't speak to that, but I do know I'm very concerned about hospital consolidation. As Attorney General, I'd have the ability to sort of protect and make sure that we don't have one health industry giant dominating a region. So I have the ability to weigh in on that. I'm also concerned that in rural Pennsylvania, we are losing access to
Yeah.
healthcare. A lot of these hospitals are closing. You also have mergers. So as Attorney General, I will use every tool in the toolbox I can to try to make sure that we maintain rural access and also access to quality health care. Look, obviously, our
Okay.
bigger cities have that access. It's not perfect, but they have it.
Yeah.
And I do think when it comes to
Mhm.
critical care or severe care, acute care, we're very good, but we need to get better at preventive care. And,
Yeah.
as Attorney General, I can't sort of force people to become better at that, but I can try to make sure
Mhm.
that we don't have one entity dominating the market too much, and also doing my best to make sure we don't have rural hospital closings.
Yes. Okay. Well, I do know, I guess with the for-profit nature of the Conemaugh Health System, yes. I mean, like wait times in the
Yep.
emergency room can be like sometimes as long as 24 hours
Oh,
just to
that's
get seen.
it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible what's happening to people in some of these communities. And the for-profit healthcare, it's rarely worked. I mean,
Mhm.
and look, there's some things that should be the private sector, restaurants, pizza places, even golf
Mhm.
courses, Google. There's things that, whether we like them or not, certainly they're well, they should be private, but
Mhm.
and for profit. But the healthcare industry in particular, when it's running on a for profit and not a for profit, they just end up making decisions that are about enriching their shareholders and not looking out for the community.
Okay. Yes, I know I mean, UPMC, I mean, sometimes it has some aspects of a for-profit
Right.
system, I guess. I don't know if Jeffrey Romoff, is he still the
He is
CEO
not.
there?
No, they have a new CEO now. A woman is leading their operation now. Her name escapes me, but it is not Romoff. And look, I think UPMC offers terrific um, uh, healthcare. I mean, I think their doctors and nurses are through the roof good.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just, worried about, again, them and Highmark having their consent decree coming to an end, and certainly the next term of the Attorney General, that will be an issue. And I want to make sure that the consumers of Western Pennsylvania have access to healthcare, regardless of who their insurance carrier is.
Okay. And I know, I guess, obviously another big, well, healthcare related would be the opioid
Yes.
epidemic.
Yeah, so the Attorney General now will have the ability to be involved and certainly help negotiate the opioid settlement. So we have a once in a generation opportunity to use those opioid dollars to make sure that we're directing those dollars into programs that actually help people that have addiction issues. So I will certainly use my role as Attorney General to continue that work and make sure that we're making smart investments with that money. As Auditor General, I investigated a lot of these drug rehabilitation programs. It gave me a unique perspective as to what works and what doesn't. I'll use that expertise to make sure that we turn this war on drugs into a battle against addiction.
So, like as Auditor General, you were able to access like pretty much all their records.
Yeah, well, as Attorney General, I'd have more access to some of those records. But as
Yeah.
Auditor General, I
Mhm.
was able to follow the money of taxpayer dollars into which, because the state would invest in a lot of these opioid treatment programs. I was able to see through that what worked and what didn't. It wasn't getting into private healthcare data, but it was able to see how the tax dollars were effective or weren't effective. One of the things is
Okay.
if you're 28 days or less, that just isn't effective. We need to have people in treatment at least 90 days.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember when I was speaking with Erin McClelland, I was asking her like the difference between, maybe the lay person may not even know the difference between, say, the Auditor General, the
Yeah,
Treasurer, and and Attorney General, like exactly what their roles are. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, as Auditor General, you didn't have the power to indict anybody, but
that's right. Or to
as the
levy fines, any of that, or to even the power to negotiate a fine. Certainly, the attorney
Mhm,
general does. Now, the difference is that auditor general can audit and investigate anything. You don't need, so to start that audit, you don't need even a pretense that something is wrong. Whereas, obviously, to conduct a investigation as the attorney general, you have to have some basis for doing that investigation.
Probably they would say probable cause. I mean, I'm sure like everybody who watches those Law and
Oh,
Order
they
shows.
watch those TV shows. Yes. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's exactly like the TV shows, but it gives you enough of a back.
Hmm. Okay. And so, I mean, obviously, you'd be following in the footsteps of Josh Shapiro.
That's right.
So, are
And
there
he
any
and I had a
future?
very similar background leading into this. He was a Montgomery County commissioner and certainly was part of that as state legislator. We served on the Judiciary Committee together. So we were obviously both lawyers. And he was running a large agency at in Montgomery County that had to deal with criminal justice issues there. And certainly I was the Auditor General having to deal with running a complicated large state agency as well, running tough statewide investigations. So very similar background.
Okay. And so, like the change in the presidential race, like, with Joe Biden dropping out and Kamala Harris taking over as the standard bearer, does that have any influence on the race so far?
Oh, we're gonna find out. I mean, there's certainly one thing that we know, and that is there's much more enthusiasm on the Democratic ticket from activists across the state as a result of that change. And certainly when you see the energy and vitality of the Harris Waltz ticket, there's no question that they are ready to take the battle to the former president. So we'll see what that effect is across the board for other candidates, myself included. My sense is it will definitely be a positive, but I've still got to work hard and run my race.
Okay. And so, I mean, I'm just trying to think of the other. So like I knew like you were like when you were based in York County, Dave Sunday, was he in a neighboring county?
He was no, he's still was and still is the York County District Attorney.
Okay. So did you know him back
Yeah,
then?
I know him. Dave's a good guy, and we certainly have our differences, and obviously that's going to play out in this campaign. But I have no ill will to him as a person. I think he's a good guy.
Okay. Well, I've seen ads on TV here for him. I mean, I guess so. You planning on running ads later?
Yeah, we're going to be starting our ad sometime relatively soon after Labor Day. He's got a billionaire funding him, so that makes it a little bit easier for him to
Okay.
get on.
Oh, Jeffrey Ass.
Jeffrey, yes, Jeffrey yes is paying. So we're actually raising a lot more money than Dave, but if you exclude Jeff Yass, but Jeff Yass is basically funding that operation. So people can certainly know what that means when Jeffrey Yass is paying for the campaign.
So certainly, is that something you could investigate as Attorney General?
Well,
If you
I want to make sure we're
were,
defending reproductive freedom, protecting the environment, make sure our communities are
yeah.
safe, and taking on these creeps trying to scam our seniors. Those will certainly be the higher priorities. You know,
So I guess if he were violating campaign finance law, would that be more of a federal thing?
well, it could be state, could be federal, but I have no evidence that they're doing that right now. It's just, I just say people should understand politically when one person is funding it, there's going to be a lot of strings attached to that.
Okay, yes, and well, I'm certainly, I mean, Citizens United makes it
That's right.
very easy to buy influence.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So are you relying more on small donors?
We have most of our donors are obviously individuals. We certainly have labor unions that are making donations as well, but mostly individuals and labor unions are what are making the bulk of our campaign contributions.
Okay. And who is the current Attorney General? I guess the one who's filling in for
Yeah,
Josh Shapiro.
it is Michelle Henry. She was the top deputy for now Governor Shapiro, then Attorney General Shapiro, obviously, and she's been doing a good job. But she was nominated by the governor, approved by the Senate, and has chosen not to run for election.
Okay, and so for other posts in in the Attorney General's office that requires a confirmation by the state Senate.
No, that only happened because she was not elected. So when there's a vacancy, the top deputy becomes acting for a set number of days, and then it's up to the governor to nominate someone for the remainder of the term, and the Senate has to confirm that individual for them to be the actual sitting attorney general.
Okay. I know there's a group called Put People First. They've been advocating for the creation of a public health care advocate, like someone who could like go after the insurance companies and the hospitals and like go after all the price gouging and in the
Right.
system. Are you familiar with that proposal?
I've heard about it. No one has met with me directly about it. I am aware of it. It seems like something that could be a good idea, but I have not seen the details of that.
Okay. I mean, I've heard some proposals, excuse me, that say that I've heard some proposals that say that um, that this is someone that the Attorney General would appoint, but
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't.
Yeah, that obviously those are proposals out there. To the best of my knowledge, the legislature is not moving on any of those this fall. So,
Mhm.
as after this legislative session, you'll start that, the process completely new in January of next year. So, if there's a serious push, I'll certainly take a strong look at it and see if that's something I'd want to support.
Okay. I know, yes, we do have another hotly contested House race right
Mhm.
here in Johnstown.
Right.
I guess you're familiar, Frank Burns.
Oh yeah, and I know he's facing the same thing I am with this Jeffrey Yaz funded. I think they've been on TV for apparently in a lot of mail for several weeks now, is my understanding.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of mailing, a lot of going back and forth. So certainly, I mean, certainly how your race goes and how this race goes could have an impact.
No, there's no
So,
question. I think Frank getting reelected will play a large role in whether the Democrats maintain their majority in the state house.
yeah. And so do you plan on coming to this area
Oh,
to
I have
campaign?
been there a couple times already, and I know I'm going to be at the Mirtha dinner, which is I forget the
Mhm.
date. It's sometimes late September, early October. I admittedly forget the date, but I know I'm scheduled to be at the Mirtha dinner. So I know that's at least one more time, but I'm sure I'll be there others as well.
Okay, so, and I guess hopefully you'll have some joint appearances with Kamala Harris if she comes to the area or Bob Casey,
Yeah, and we were just in together in Rochester, which is not Rochester, New York, but Rochester in Beaver
PA.
County. So I was there helping warm up the crowd there, and she was there, and I thought it was a great um, visit by the entire ticket. First of all, small town Beaver, small town in Beaver County, but I thought they hit Rochester, small rally where we had some good discussions on policy differences with the other side. Then they went to, you know, Governor Waltz went to Aliquippa High School, spoke to the Aliquippa football team. He and I are both former high school football coaches. So,
Oh, you
we
are?
had that in
Okay.
common. So they talked to Aliquippa, then they went to a Sheets and a Permane brothers. So it was the definition of a Western Pennsylvania visit.
I guess you'll have to take them someday to Pamela's for
So
pancakes.
I'd be happy to do that. Happy to. It'd be interesting to see who goes with the omelets, who goes with the pancakes, but because they have great either way. But be happy to take them to Pamela's. I'll pick up the check too.
Okay. So, all right. Well, that's all I that's all I had to ask you about today. Is there anything else I missed or?
Oh, I just appreciate the opportunity. Look, for those of you out there that are listening, I mean, I know what it's like to struggle. A lot of people are struggling economically. I'm
Mhm.
certainly blessed to be in a different place now. But when we were younger, we didn't even have health insurance because my brother Anthony had muscular dystrophy, which was, as you
Yeah.
know, before the Affordable Care Act,
Mm.
a pre-existing condition. So one of the
Yeah.
things I know is what these corporations and insurance companies are capable of doing to people if they have the opportunity. So I'll make sure to be your lawyer
So,
against that corporate greed. And when it comes to reproductive freedom, look, before we had our oldest, Tracy had an ectopic pregnancy.
mhm.
And so she could have died that night. We made a decision that night at week 10. That was certainly a tough decision. I mean, the right one, but it's tough because it's a tough night.
Mhm.
You have states like Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Idaho, Utah, where that decision would have sent us to prison. So I'm going to defend reproductive freedom, not only just for the people of Pennsylvania, but for anyone fleeing one of these right-wing authoritarian states that come here. I'll defend their reproductive freedom as well.
Yes. Well, certainly that's very laudable. So, okay. Well, that's all I had for today. I'll be happy to post this on my website and share it with all the Democrats around here.
You got it, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome and enjoy the rest of your day.
You got it. You too. Take care. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.